What's going on, everybody? How's it going? I hope this finds you doing well. Welcome to Good Work Live, and welcome to the new place. This is the new office, and it's a little bare behind me, but it'll get better as we continue to unpack and move into our new spot. Tons of thanks to everybody who has come out or who did come out and help, specifically folks like Billy, Dan, who is at the Wandering Tortoise tonight. If you're not watching this, he was just on, you may have been watching him on Facebook Live earlier, because they're setting up for his band, setting up for a show tonight. But anyways, Charlie and lots of other folks who stepped up and helped us out while I was a little bit of under the pressure of trying to help move myself and my family while my back was falling apart. And anyways, thanks for watching. Last week we started talking about the history of Christmas because someone in our the Good Work community asked about the history of Christmas, so I tried to give kind of a condensed version of Christmas. If you didn't catch it, you can still go down on the timeline and see that video. It's not too bad. It's all right. It's pretty short. Anyways, we wanted to keep talking about Advent this week, and I wanted to find something that had some meaning to it, and it was a little bit of a different type of, and Stephen Carey, yes, helped us move. Yes, sorry, I forgot about that. Lots of people did, and it's just everybody. Thank you, by the way. But we want to talk about Advent, about something a little bit different about it tonight. So I wanted to start off with a quote from a wizard, because where else would you start with Advent than a quote from a wizard? This is an old story, an old wizard. It's not Harry Potter, sorry to those of you who are fans, but this is a quote from the wizard known as Gandalf from the Lord of the Rings books, stories from J.R.R. Tolkien. And Gandalf, when talking to Frodo when he was very discouraged, he said this. He said, "Some believe that it's only great power that can hold evil in check. But that's not what I've found. I have found that it is small, everyday deeds of ordinary folk that keep the darkness at bay. Small acts of kindness and love." And I want to use that idea to jump off into this idea of what we are doing in the Advent season. Because last week we talked about Advent being a time of preparation and waiting. But that waiting doesn't mean that we sit on our hands and we wait for something nice to happen and then we react to it. Part of the idea of an Advent season, whether you hold to the Christian traditions or some other, or none, the idea of an Advent is to actually prepare. And to prepare means not to react, but to be proactive in things. So I want to throw that out. I want to throw out the idea that if we're doing our best to get the most out of this season, if we're doing our best to try to live our best lives right now, then there requires in us some preparation, some actual work on our end that isn't just reactionary, that isn't just following instructions or obeying this rule or this law. It's actually us internally and then externally thinking and then acting into this preparation, whatever it might be for you. So on that, I want to start with this. There was a friend of mine who went to a lecture by an incredibly wise, smart, learned book, philosophy, theology, just an incredibly brilliant person by the name of Jürgen Moltmann. And during that lecture, he gave, pieces of how he saw the world and how we interact in it. And at the end, there was this Q&A session. And this person went up to a mic and asked him this question: the person who asked the question said, how do you keep, or how do you maintain hope in the midst of despair? Moltmann paused for a second, but not too long, and he said, I maintain it as a protest. And Siri thought I was asking a question. I was not, Siri, thanks. So when asked how he maintains hope in the midst of despair, he said, as a protest. And for a lot of us, that seems counterintuitive. We don't usually conceptualize, visualize, imagine hope as an act of protesting or rebelling. But it does make a lot of sense. When we look at this world that's surrounded by violence and hatred, misery, pain, brokenness, we essentially have a choice. We either allowed to kind of slog through that, or we fight against it. And to acquiesce to it, to submit to the dark side of life, to the violence, the pain, the bigotry, the hatred, whatever. I mean, all the bad adjectives that we right now feel like this world is boiling down to. We can be hopeless along with it, or we can react absolutely against hope, which is hope. And in doing so, that's a pretty rebellious act. So I think for Advent season, I think especially in a year like this year, and there have been years like this year in history. This isn't unique, and though it feels like the walls are closing down on us and every ability for us to be decent human beings is falling by the wayside, the fact of the matter is this has kind of happened before. And if we learn and we evolve as we always have before, this time will happen again. It's the course of humanity. We go through cycles. We make the same mistakes once we've forgotten them. So I would suggest that maybe this year, hope is the preparation that we put forward in Advent. In a world that expects the worst, I really think that offering the best of ourselves is that fundamental act of rebellion that we should consider participating in. And in a society that sees malintent or hate, or danger, selfishness, we see it everywhere, with or without its own due cause. What is more radically different, radically subversive than goodwill, than love, than selfless support of other human beings? Like that is punk. That is rebellion. It's so counter to the rhythm of the way the world feels like it's going together right now that it's worth considering that it might be that different path that we start creating in our own lives that starts to change things in the communities that we're in. Now, I understand that I have certain privileges as I was born and as I exist as this certain human. And so I can say something like that. I can say something like, well, kindness can change the world. But I don't necessarily think that my position and privilege in life alters the concept that historically it's been true that the people that have won the greatest battles were not the ones with the biggest guns, but the ones who made themselves vulnerable and sought the way of love over violence or over some kind of power play to overthrow what might have been seen as darkness or bad or evil. So I understand my privilege, and I understand that there are kinks in my own philosophy because of my privilege. I don't think it alters my ultimate argument on this, that this idea of goodwill, of kindness, of compassion is the thing that is going to require to put balance back in the world. So subversion, maybe, that idea of rebellion, is really this crazy idea that you or I would be willing to open up our arms and embrace another person, to choose to love, to choose to trust in a crazy world where that is absolutely a risk. And that may not be your act of subversion. You may be kind in another way. Your resources may limit or allow you to rebel with a kind of compassion in a completely different manner. I would encourage you this season, as we kind of have a preparatory season in one way or another, however you might be participating in it, to consider what your resources, your limitations, or your strengths may be about how you can engage in kindness. Now, if I were listening to me right now, I would definitely say, but we don't owe those who oppose us or those places of friction in our life, we don't owe them kindness. And depending on whose teaching you hold to in life, whether your own or some great master or something divine, I believe you're allowed to hold that argument too. But I also think this. I think that we hit a place in life, every human being, where they say, I've taken a lot, or I've taken what I can in life, and now it's time for me to figure out how to return it back to the earth. It's a Simba and Timon and Pumbaa kind of circle of life thing. Like you chew up all these resources to become the person you are, but ultimately the second half of your life ends up being spent on how to return it back to the earth before you go. And I think that is why we are kind, not because someone deserves it, because that's just transactional, and that's not really kindness. That's the kind of kindness where you expect to get something in return. We are truly kind. We are truly compassionate because love compels us to believe that if I am kind, if I am living to my fullest personage, then the world will be better. And that's ultimately what I want, not just for me or my family or my friends to be better, but for everyone to be. And I believe one of the ways we go there is through kindness. And I feel like it would also be important for me to say that kindness is not weakness. Kindness takes a courage and a self-assuredness that a lot of people don't regularly have. Kindness doesn't hit on the pop culture meter, at least not the kind I'm talking about. The deep kind, the consistent, grinding kindness where you wake up in the morning and you say, this is who I'm going to be despite what may be around me. And I'm going to do this not to gain any extra attention, but because the world needs to be better. And so I need to be better. So if you wonder on those dark days when you don't want to get out of bed, what on earth you or I need to do to weather this continuing onslaught of negativity, divisiveness, and talking heads and anger and bigotry. I really believe that kindness as a protest to all of that is going to be the road to recovery. Having said that, I think I've told a lot of you about this opportunity that's come to us, to our entire The Good Work community. And I would be remiss if I didn't tell you again on this video. We started out Monday with 2 Angel Tree kids to buy gifts for them so that they would have a good Christmas, because otherwise they might not. And within an hour and a half, the fundraising goal that we had put up on online had been raised. And so I thought, well, man, some of you didn't even get to see the post before some folks gave enough to provide for the program. So let's do a stretch goal. Let's pick up 2 more kids. Well, before I was able to go down and sign up to pick up 2 more Angel Tree kids, one of our community members, Courtney, shot me a message and said, hey, I have a friend and coworker who is just in a terrible spot this year and could really use some help. I don't know exactly what you can do, if there's any resources where we can try to send him so that he and his family can have Christmas. And to be honest, it's almost too late in the year for that, to send him to a different organization. So I told her, you know what, let's just do it. We will give that family Christmas. Now, at that time, I didn't exactly know what we were getting into, but you guys have always shown yourselves to be generous and dedicated to taking care of folks. So wasn't really afraid. And I wasn't afraid even when I heard that the household that included that person, Courtney's friend and coworker, had 7 kids in it, 2 adults and 7 kids. Only one of the adults is employed currently, with a recent storyline of just deaths and tragedy. Adoptions. Anyways, right after that, we started saying, hey, we need to raise money. Now, the 200 is going to stay to those Angel Tree kids, but we did some math in the office this week, and we figured that it's going to take about $1,200 to give those 9 individuals a legitimate Christmas that we think they should definitely have. No strings attached. Just, it's the right thing to do. It's kindness. Where some people say, well, they need to bootstrap, they need to work harder, they need to understand what it's like to go without. We say kids should get to be kids. And this individual is working diligently and hard to take care of a family that he didn't necessarily sign up completely for. So we've raised another $300 that's going to start going to this family, but we need about $900 more. So I am asking you to consider giving to this effort, to this family. I set the deadline for December 15th for this. So I know some of you have paydays, and sometimes you got to wait kind of for a payday, especially during the holidays, to do something like this. But I got to ask you to try. If you can. These kids deserve something. They deserve to see, it's not that they deserve gifts. They deserve to see that the world that they're growing up in, even though it's hard, there are places where hope is real and lived out. That's what they deserve. Every kid deserves to see, no matter how hard the world is, there are people in their lives or in their communities who are going to love them and care for them no matter what. So if that's something you can do, if it's a place that you can assist in, please go to thegoodwork.org/support and put your donation in there, and you can put it you can tag it. It'll still say Angel Tree 2017, but anything that comes in now at this point will know goes to this family. Please give, or if you know someone who would be interested in giving this way, they're interested in helping an organization that's doing an adoptive family. This is the only one we're doing this year, so this is the rebellion that we're a part of. saying that kindness and hope are the things that we're going to push back at the darkness with. So I hope this week is going well for you. I hope my notes, my ramblings have made sense tonight. If you would like to talk about this further, please shoot me a text or direct message. I'm available. I'm here to help. So thanks for watching. Tell your friends if this is a community you think that they would enjoy being a part of. Go ahead and invite them to the group. Let them know that they're welcome to be a part of this, and they can hang out and anything like that, or not if they don't want to. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. I will see you soon. Okay. Bye-bye.